We're live.
So the YouTube should change now to there.
Yeah, it's time. It's delayed a little bit. There's about
10
10 seconds or so. There you go. Now it's going. It's a little bit delayed, the YouTube. Say hello. Just give it another couple minutes. See if anyone else logs on before we start. Okay, let's let's go for it. All right, so welcome back, whoever's here. We are going to continue. We're learning Torah 76, and we're doing the Likutey Halachos on the Torah. It's Hilchos Masa Matan Daled. If you go into the WhatsApp group, yeah.
I was thinking maybe we could repost the PDF from BRI and Likutey Halachos. I think we have it's on the chat.
Yeah, if you I can actually copy it right on. Give me a second.
Copy it onto the
Yeah, I'll get the link. It'll take me 1 sec, and we will copy and paste it. Here we go. We're gonna put it right here.
You're gonna put the whole thing.
There's one, and I'll put it on the YouTube also.
Just gonna do that.
There you go.
Right. So
download link.
Entire part 2 of Likutey Halachos. So
yes,
we know within this massive document how we can cut to.
It's right near the beginning. It's Hilchos Masa Matan Daled, number 4.
So let's see.
If anyone wants to download it, and
I think you have to post part 1 instead of part 2.
let's see. It should be. Let's see. See if I can get you a page number. Let's see. Okay, let's see. It's big. Give me 1 sec. Still loading it. Okay, let's see. It should be pretty much right at the start. It's the first halachas, actually, right at it in the beginning. It's, you know what? It's not in there. That's weird. See, I've got the Likutey Halachos number 2 here, but it's a different version, a different company. Let's try one. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's in the first one. Wow. Maybe you're right. Let's try that. It would be right at the end of it then.
Right.
I think I also had a doc.
You did, and for whatever reason, I'm trying to click on that link, and I personally am unable to re-download it. I think I have it already, but maybe the Chebra who's joining now, it would be useful at least.
Here, I see it. I see a PDF of just this halacha. Oh, that's better. Let's do that.
Yeah, you posted it on the 23rd.
I'm gonna stick it in my Dropbox, and then I'll get a link. Give me 1 sec.
Fantastic.
Okay. Here it is. Okay. There we go. We got it. Okay, so actually this is a better link. Hopefully that works for the YouTube.
Yes.
Let's put it in the YouTube. Okay.
Very nice.
There we go. Okay. So if you open that up, if you open up that file, you will get, we're going to go to letter Zion, or Zion, in there, which is, that's where we're going to go to Ois Zion, which is page 8. Is that page 8? I think that's page 8 in there. Okay.
Page 8.
Okay, great. So we're continuing the Likutey Halachos. It's Hilchos Masa Matin. We're up to letter number Zion, number 7. And we're going to take the ideas we've spoken about now. We've introduced all these concepts. And we're going to go into Sfiras HaOmer. It's the main thing we're going to talk about. When we count the Omer, why we do it. And it's pretty revealing as far as, unfortunately, we didn't do this before the Sfira, but it's pretty amazing. Okay, so Reb Nosson says, we skipped number 6, Vav, because he says these ideas we're going to say very, the Kitzur, he says them very concisely, and I figure I might as well just skip to where he explains them. So he says, let's go back and explain. The idea of receiving the Torah is something that is dependent on believing in Hashgacha Pratis, that Hashem sees, He supervises every single aspect of our lives. Because if you believe in the Torah, you believe in the mitzvahs, which is mitzvahs and averos, and you believe that if you do a mitzvah, you're going to get a great olam haba. Whereas if you do an avera chas v'shalom, you're going to have an onesh. There's going to be some form of punishment. So what happens automatically is that truly receiving the Torah means that you really believe, you have emunah on Hashem, and in His hashgacha pratis, that He directly supervises everything in this world, and therefore there's consequences for our actions, right? If we believe Hashem supervises everything in this world, then we also believe whatever we do, He sees and He takes note of, and He responds to. So these things are dependent on each other. Baruch Hu sees everything. He sees all of our actions. And Hashem chose the Torah, and He chose to include all the mitzvahs in it. And these are very important to Him. And everything that we do, even though it's only physical, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ever greater than our physicality, nevertheless, it's very important to Him, and He does see and observe every single thing we do, and there's some kind of system dependent on our actions. It's funny, just in this point, I once remember hearing, I think it was from the Chofetz Chaim, who said that, I believe, he was talking about technological advances, and at the time, it was actually very difficult to believe this, because no one could fathom that a person was capable of seeing and hearing every single thing that went on in the entire world. It was impossible to, at that time you lived in a little village and you saw whoever you saw. You probably saw the same people every single day. You probably got very bored of them after a while. And to think for a second that there's a person that could see and observe every single thing in the entire world and hear every single conversation that went on and record everything, remember everything, people would make fun and say that's a crazy belief to have. And of course today, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us technology, and it's very, very easy for us to believe this, because anyone with a camera, I was just at home before, and I have a computer in my house that has this Google remote control thing where I can access my desktop at work, and I went to set up the shear, and when I set up the shear, it remotely activated the camera on my desktop, and I saw my empty desk, my empty chair, and it's obvious today, that of course the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is infinitely greater than us, can see and observe everything that goes on. So that's a prerequisite for receiving the Torah, real Kabbalah Torah. It's a prerequisite to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Hashgacha Pratis. And that is, technology helps us do that. Someone who therefore denies that HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks at all of her actions, supervises them, they are in denial, they're a kofer of the entire Torah in its entirety. So therefore, in a certain way, all of the Torah is considered eyes, because this is the way we interact with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu, he looks at our actions, which are primarily everything we do. If it's the Ratzon Hashem, right? We said before in last class, we spoke about the idea that when we look to Hashem, Hashem looks back at us. The process is dependent on us. And we said if we look to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Amunah, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is able to take that Amunah and he fills it with whatever bracha, whatever shefa we need. So the way we look to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is really through the mitzvahs. Because if our actions are done in the way of fulfilling a mitzvah, then we've looked to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If our actions are done just for self-indulgence, we just want to enjoy life, just for pure pleasure purposes, so then we haven't looked at HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in a certain way, the entire Torah and all of its mitzvahs is really the idea of the eyes. It also says, "B'chenes bereishis she'eschal Torah." This idea of the first word, it's hinted, this whole idea that looking to the Baruch Hu through the mitzvahs is hinted to in the first word of the Torah, according to the Zohar, which is bereishis. Taman Reishi, Taman Bas. The Zohar says, over there is Rashi, over there is Bas, and that means that the word Bereshis includes the words Rashi, Rashis, and also includes the word Bas, and that is Shem Tlas Gam De'eno Bas Ayin. This is the idea of the what do you call it? The iris, the black part of the eye, and then the three colors, the three other colors of the eye. It's a contact. Maybe we'll get back to it later, but it's just a Kabbalistic concept that refers to the eye. The bas is the bas ayin, that's the black part, and then maybe that's the three, and then there's the Rashi. Sorry, maybe that's I don't remember exactly. It's a Kabbalistic concept that refers to the eye, and then the three colors. And therefore, the Torah itself, according to the Zohar, alludes to the eye. Bereshis, the beginning of the Torah, alludes to the eye for this reason, because the entire Torah, which is for the mitzvahs, is the idea of interacting with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, having a kesher, a connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Ki ikar klalius haTorah hi b'chinas einayim b'chinas re'ira v'hashgacha tanu shanim aminim b'hashgacha pratius she'izbarach tzoifim mavi v'rei mashgir tamid al kol davar b'prat. That's what we just said, that the whole purpose of Torah is that we believe Hashem looks at us, He cares about us, little human beings here in this huge universe. He cares about what we do, and He cares about our actions. He takes note of them. From HaKadosh Baruch Hu's abode, He supervises all the people that dwell in the land. So through believing that Shavisi Hashem lenegdi something we say, right? Hashem is always, His presence always before me. So through this and through the mitzvahs, we are always believing in the Hashgacha of Hashem, and we're always looking to Hashem. I heard a beautiful vart once that we say, so Kosh Baruch Hu wanted to be mezakeh. He wanted to give a tremendous opportunity to us. Therefore, He gave us He gave us much Torah, much and many mitzvahs. So the question is, and the way most people look at that, is that what do you mean the Torah is a burden? You know, I have so many mitzvahs, 613. Well, I'm never going to be finished with them. And when we think about that, the sheer number, we become stressed out or overburdened. So why is it Rotza Kosh Baruch Hu Zakos Yisrael? Why did Kosh Baruch Hu want to give a? What does it mean that He wants to do us a favor? He wants to give us merit. Ram Nosson says that the amazing thing is, since we have so many mitzvahs, no matter what we do, it's always possible to connect to Kosh Baruch Hu through one of the mitzvahs. You have to look at it in a very positive light. It's a tremendous gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No matter what I'm doing, I could always do a chesed. I could always thank someone of a karas tov. I could always give a little tzedakah. I could say a little tehillim. There's so many mitzvahs that I can do, and so many things that are bad that I can avoid. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us to have always a connection with Him, and therefore He gave us so many mitzvahs. It was out of His love to us. And that's what Rav Nosson is saying. The whole idea of the Torah and the mitzvahs is to be able to look to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and connect to Him and see Him and interact and build a relationship with Him. Okay. Even though the distance, HaKadosh Baruch Hu he's so distant from us. There's such a vast distance between us and Him. Nevertheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He cares and He looks at everything that goes on. Who is like Hashem? He sits up so high, and yet he lowers Himself, and He looks at everything that goes on in Shemayim and also on the arts, on the land. This is the whole purpose of the Torah, and therefore if someone makes a mistake as far as their belief in the Hashgacha Pratis, they therefore deny the entire Torah, because this is the basis of Torah, that Hashem looks and Hashem cares, and He's involved with our lives, He interacts with us. Wasn't doesn't want to go into this, but the basic idea is that this is a very dangerous belief, and they really can't believe in Torah if they don't believe this. It's a prerequisite to being a religious Jew is to believe this. Right? If one doesn't believe this, then they can just say, I can do whatever I want, and everything in life becomes disconnected from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the idea of the Torah is the eyes. It's our eyes, spiritual eyes, looking at HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so now we're going to take these ideas and we're going to relate them to Sfiras HaOmer every single year from Pesach till Shavuos. We count the Sfira, and I would highly encourage everyone to go to a Breslov shul during Sfiras HaOmer. I always try to remember to take videos, but in our little shul in Lakewood, we've got about 20 people, maybe 25 on a good night, and this is just, this is not Yerushalayim or something like that. It's a small little shtibel in Lakewood. I would say it could take a good 10-15 minutes just to count the Sfira, and there's incredible energy and kavanah in the room, and even if you can't relate to, at least at this moment, to what's going on, but you see that there's something very, very deep in this Sfira, which is probably just a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. So what's Sfira all about? So we count Sheva Shabbos is kind of Kabbalas Torah. We count for 7 weeks before we receive the Torah. Hachana l'Kabbalas Torah. The idea of Sfira is we're preparing to receive the Torah at Har Sinai. Ki hanafas ha'omer sa'orim hi b'shvil lahamshich ha'idizeh amunos hashgacha pratis sheyisoy kol ha'Torah kula. So we already explained that Amunah is the Yesod, it's the foundation of the entire Torah. If you have Amunah, then you believe in the Torah and the mitzvahs. If you don't, then you don't believe in the Torah and the mitzvahs. That's the basis for living a Torah life. The next thing is that the Hanafas HaOmer, that we count from when they would wave this, they would wave a piece of barley in all the 6 directions. That's what happened when we count every single day from that time. That's when we begin counting. So the waving of the Omer offering, it represents, or it symbolizes drawing this Amunah that we have in HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His Hashgacha into our lives and into the entire world. For this reason, we wave in all 6 directions. We wave in all ways in order to connect all of the directions, to connect them all to the Hanhaga, the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu directs this world. The mandas kol amaretzkia kol mekusha elav, so that we realize, we bring this into our lives, we bring this concept of Emunah into the deepest part of our lives, that everything is mekusha to Hashem. Every single thing is connected to Hashem. There's nothing that goes on, no experience, no thought, nothing that goes on that is not connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whatever we experience was directly put into play by Him. He's constantly looking and fearing, and he's constantly leading the world. It's the same idea every single day when we say Kriya Shema and we say Echad. This is actually the same idea. When you say the word Echad, the Gemara says, it's Gemara Brachas, the Gemara says you're supposed to remember, you're supposed to meditate on the idea that you're proclaiming Hashem to be the king above and below, and then in all four directions. So the first belief, which is a simple one that everyone would have automatically, is we know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the king. He can do whatever he wants to do, and he does rule the world. And even this world, everything that happens, even though he's hidden from us, still we believe and we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the king over the entire world. This really goes, Rav Nosson is going to say it's really a little bit deeper than that. And this is according to the Arizal, Kisvei Arizal, Shuvor Sham She'ikar Kavans Krishma, the Kasher, the Yached, Bechinas, Malchus, Lakosh Baruch Hu. The Arizal explains, he just says it very briefly, and Rav Nosson is going to go into this and bring out this idea, but he says the Ikar idea of Kriya Shema is to be Makasher and Meyached Malchus Lakosh Baruch Hu. Hashem's rulership, what we call Malchus, to connect that to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Every day we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. We have a special mitzvah, and that's that in our mind we meditate and we connect Kadosh Baruch Hu's Malchus, His kingdomship. We connect that to Him. How do you do that? Hainu Kanal. That's like we explained. Shneida b'amuna shlema. Shan hagos ha'olam zebechinas Malchus. So he defines Malchus. What does it mean, Hashem's kingdomship? It's a nice word, but what does that mean? It means the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu, His hanhaga, the way He leads the world, the way He directs the world. That every single thing that goes on is HaKadosh Baruch Hu leading the world, and there's no other melech besides for Him. He alone, there's no other forces, there's no intermediaries, there's nothing else, there's nothing called teva, nature. He alone directs the entire world. But Rav Nosson says this incredible rule that all of the teachings of the Arizal, all the teachings of the Zohar, they all point to the same direction. The purpose of all of them is only one thing, which is the kavana apshuta shel klal Yisrael shmechavnim be'echad lamlichei l'maylo. The purpose of Shema, the purpose of Sfiras Omer, and the purpose of every single one of the 613 mitzvahs that we have is to proclaim HaKadosh Baruch Hu the Melech, both above in Shemaim and down below on planet Earth. The point is not just to believe that, yes, there's only one HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's only one man in charge, there's not one man, there's only one being in charge, and there's not two. That's not, you're not Yoitzi if that's all that you think it is. Kavana amitis, even though this is, it's like the Pasha Pshat, this is the actual intention when we say those words, but it's not enough. You could believe that there's only one king, but you have to take that concept further to the point where you believe that, no, every single thing in my life is also a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's not just that he's the Melech and he has the power and he sits in Shemayim and everything else. It's that every single thing that happens in my life, it's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what when you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Rav Nosson is giving us this beautiful idea to remember in order to properly do this mitzvah, which is that I have the opportunity twice a day to remind myself when I say Echad, that every single thing that happened to me, right, is Hashgacha Pratis. It's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it all has purpose. and there's something for me to learn from every single thing, and I can connect to Hashem through it. And a person should never feel that they're cut off somehow. Perhaps they've done something wrong, and Hashem is not really he's not really involved in their life. Those type of ideas, they creep into our minds very often. We feel like we made a wrong turn, and now we're on our own. And no, the idea is we have to remind ourselves of a mitzvah, especially for this purpose, once in the morning and once at evening. We remind ourselves that no, Akash Baruch Hu is with me, and every single interaction I'm going to have today is all directly it's all directly from Hashem. It's the Eibishter. Every single thing I'm going to have. If you don't believe this, then this is you're really out of the Jewish religion, the bounds of the Jewish religion. That's what the Gemara in Brachas says. You're supposed to say the Dalid a little bit longer, echad, in order to proclaim in the king above and below. The idea is that it's in Shema, and we'll explain the Sfiras Omer. We already said a little bit that you waved it in all 6 directions to show that everything that happens is really the domain of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all Him supervising and directing it. But really the purpose of every single mitzvah, what this really spells out is relationship. That's really what it spells out. And what Ram Nosson is saying is an incredible thing, that after everything's said and done, the basic purpose of every mitzvah is to have a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Each one is an opportunity to look and connect with Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that twice a day we meditate on this idea, which is that everything in our life is from Hashem. And then every single moment we have opportunities to do mitzvahs that, again, help us reconnect to Kadosh Baruch Hu and build a relationship with Him. That's the purpose of every single mitzvah. That's Shavisi Hashem L'Negdi Samin. This is how we do it. A person wants to live a spiritual life. They want to live a life with deep meaning. It's very easy for us to get sidetracked and get caught up in things. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world for us to be able to connect to Him. Actually, mitzvahs is, the lashon is tzavtza, which means a connection. And each one is an opportunity. The real purpose, the real bottom line of each one is it's an opportunity to re-acknowledge the idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about us, and that He looks at us and our actions are important to Him. And every time we do a mitzvah, we acknowledge that. And that's why it's so amazing when you look at mitzvahs from that angle. We have this whole new appreciation for mitzvahs, because by doing a mitzvah, we're really saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about me and what I do, and He's given me this mitzvah as an opportunity to build a relationship with Him. It's it's like if your friend calls you up and says, "Oh, I have this. Let's go spend some time together. I want to do something with you." That's really what it's like. And here's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's so incredibly great. That's what He said. He draws Him. He lowers Himself so much to us. And we spoke about that last week, that the philosophers had a very hard time dealing with this idea, because it didn't make sense to them that how could a being that's so great, so awesome, how could He care so much about people like us to lower Himself? And therefore they deny the hashgacha pratis. But what we do with all the mitzvahs is we need, one of the things that is so important to a person when they're involved in avodas Hashem, and I realize this more and more. It's not. Ram Nosson says this all the time. It's more than anything else. Especially Breslov teaches us. It's really about restarting 1,000 times a day. It's not about making the right choice and then another right choice and another right choice. And at some point, life is going to get the better of you. Life is difficult. Yetzer hara is very powerful, and you're going to fall. That's why we talk so much about falling. Even if you're super motivated and you're super focused, as human beings, we were created with deficiencies, and some people have a more difficult and more challenging time than other people. But all of us really have this issue that we struggle with consistency, and we want to reach very high places. And we look over time, and we still see that we're so far. and that in itself creates negative feelings and emotions, and then a lot of times we lose our motivation or we give up completely, and that's a cycle that happens all the time. And what Reb Nosson always teaches us is that the key to this is to restart, if need be, 1,000 times a day, as if you were just born at this very moment. That's really what Reb Nosson teaches us. And this is a similar concept to what we're talking about over here, is that every mitzvah really is an opportunity to look to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to restart that relationship. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu shouting out to us again, let's do something together. That's really what it is. And that's really the purpose of the mitzvahs, and this is a big part of the Sfiras HaOmer, as we'll see. This is the point that surrounds the entire Torah and all the mitzvahs, on all the secrets of the Arizal are always about this. This is a thing in a lot of Sidurim, Svard. It says it before almost every single mitzvah. We have this pronouncement, which is to be miyache, to bring together Kuchabrichu, Kodesh Baruch Hu, Ushchinte, and his Shechina. Okay? Right? We say it in Sfiras HaOmer, we say it before almost every single mitzvah. So what's the idea of that? I know this is ki ikar side yichud kuchabrichu shchinte. How do we bring together HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The Zohar speaks about them like they're two different parts of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Of course, there's only one HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But as far as we see the way Hashem runs this world, we see various aspects of him, and therefore we call it this way. It's all really one Hashem, but he what's the word? He interacts with us. In the part that he interacts with us is Shchinte, is a Shechina. So there's different parts, and it looks to us, we use different terms to define them. But of course, it's all one HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But so how do you bring together these two aspects of Hashem? Hu bechinas zois ki bechinas hanhagav ha'malchus masha Hashem yisbarach metzamtzem atcha k'dei lashkich lahanego olam zois bechinas nikras malchus bechinas Shechina. The idea of Shechina, whenever we talk about it, we translate it as the divine presence. What does it mean, divine presence? Divine presence is the Hanhaga and the Malchus. It's the way Hashem interacts with us in this kingdomship, which is that Hashem is mitzamtzim himself. It refers to when he what's the word? It's not coming to me. It's when he is mitzamtzim. He makes himself. I'm sorry. Constricts. Thank you. I appreciate it. That was exactly the word. Yes, when he constricts himself in order to deal with this world, to be involved in our lives, right? He's so high up, he's much greater, but he constricts himself into our lives. He brings himself into our lives. I mean, in that way, you see it's a real constriction, because our lives, how important are our lives, like, right? But they're important enough that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will constrict himself to bring him into our lives with all of the various limitations that we have, like time and our physical bodies and everything like that. So that's called Malchus, which is Shechina. That's what it means when we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Shechina, his divine presence. So what happens if someone denies this? They're separating his Shechina, the way he interacts with us, from the other aspect of him. So he will near going to mafrid aluf. He's separating, which is a terrible thing. He's separating, which means that this also relates to what Reb Nosson said either the last class or the one before, that everyone essentially believes in some kind of God, but they have a hard time with the second part, which is that Hashem involves himself in every aspect of our life. So that's Shechina, the being mitzamtzim himself into our lives, and the Kitchabrichu is the other aspect, whereas that everyone believes in this great, awesome God. So what we do by doing mitzvahs is we bring those two aspects together and we reveal how it's all one Hashem, it's all one HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's part of why mitzvahs are so important, because we bring those two concepts together and show that they're really just one. We show that everything that's happening in this world, which is, of course, Kosh Baruch Hu, that we know that, but we acknowledge that that's all from Hashem. He rules everything, it's all up to him. Through every mitzvah, we bring out this emunah, ki emunah, hakadosh hazois, he yisoy kol haTorah kula, k'mo shekosel kol mitzvah yisecha emunah. This is a very interesting pasuk in Tehillim. It says, all the mitzvahs are emunah. All the mitzvahs are emunah. It's an incredible limud, the way Rav Nosson is saying it, is that the purpose of every mitzvah, as we explain now, is emunah. That's what David HaMelech says. If you have emunah and you do the mitzvahs, then yes, you fulfill them properly. So that is the bottom line, is when you do the mitzvahs, the purpose of it is to build up your emunah, which is really a relationship with Hashem. The fact that you realize that you, who are part of His malchus, He created you and everything in your life. When you're able to tie that back to Kucha Bichu, back to the part of Hashem, the awesome, part of Hashem, when you do that, so you're doing that through your emunah. So therefore, the purpose of all mitzvahs is emunah, and you see how powerful and how important emunah is from what we're explaining. Now you understand. So if you come to the Nusach Sfard Siddur or a Svardi Siddur, and you see you understand now the purpose of why we say that before. Everything that we explained already. Okay, any questions on that before we go further back into the Sphira?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe I was thinking maybe at this time we could actually just take a break and try to trace back to Rav Nosson, really even trace back to Likutey Moharan, like how we got here from the Likutey Moharan. Like from what I understand, maybe it has what to do with the Or Chozer and having that bitachon, and then how Rav Yossi, how do you trace this back? How does Rav Nosson trace this back?
Yeah. That's you're absolutely right about that. The concept that he's harping on is this idea of the whole idea of the Yosher or Choser really is it can be viewed from either our angle or from a Kodesh Baruch Hu's angle. Whereas, like we said, the way we look at a Kodesh Baruch Hu, the way we look to Him, and the way which is through our emunah and betachin, so that is the way He interacts back with us. And when we use all the opportunities that life presents us, like all the mitzvahs, or when we're challenged to have betachin in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like we explained a couple weeks ago, all of those things, what they are, is the idea of looking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with that keli. Remember, we said in the Torah that looking properly it's not a matter of just looking, it's that you have to look with a keli. And we said looking with a keli is where it's very focused. Our looking is focused on a specific point, because if it's not focused, then you don't really take anything in, everything is blurred. So when you look, the mitzvahs, what they are, it's that same idea that the Rebbe explained in the Torah of looking with the keli. The mitzvahs actually, they're the keli. I'm looking at a Kodesh Baruch Hu through this mitzvah. That's the way I'm looking to Him. It's a very focused way of looking to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And what Hashem does is every single mitzvah has a certain. It's very specific, and there's very specific rewards. And the way a Kodesh Baruch Hu interacts with us based on that mitzvah is very specific. For example, tefillin, right? I mean, there's all these different halachas of how you have to do it. It has to look like this. You can't just put anything you want on your head. So all of those are all the ideas of kelim, and you put that on your head, and specifically the shefa in that case that it draws down, which if you went through the Arizal or the way Rav Nosson explains it, it would show you a direct correlation between why the keli looks that way, which is all the halachas that go into it, and then the shefa that's received as a result of looking to Kodesh Baruch Hu with those tefillin, through those tefillin. So in that case, it's a das. Tefillin every single day, you put it on your head, Hashem actually sends you a certain das, a certain new Torah, deeper awareness and relationship with Him that you receive through the tefillin. It's because you looked at Him in a specific way. The same way with the betachin, we said that when you look to Kodesh Baruch Hu with the betachin, you say, I need a certain amount of money by a certain date, and I have betachin on Kodesh Baruch Hu. I know that everything comes from Him. I'm going to look to Him that way. So then He looks back to you the same way. There's the Orach Chozer. So the mitzvahs is exactly the same thing. By putting on tefillin, I'm looking to Kodesh Baruch Hu through the tefillin, and all the halachas that make up this keli, that's the focus, and then Kodesh Baruch Hu gives us the resulting shefa. Now, we, since we're not such big mukubalim, we may not realize those connections between the kelim and the shefa that comes. When it comes to money, it's obvious. I need a certain amount of money, so Kodesh Baruch Hu gives you the money. But with the mitzvahs, since we don't know the kavanas so well, it's hard for us to relate to that in specific detail. However, if you went through Likutey halachos, or if you even, if you were Mekubal and you went through the Arizal, you would see how there's a direct connection between the halachos of a mitzvah and then the shefa that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends back afterwards. So it's really the same type of idea. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
And then what we have to do with Sfiras Omer is the ruchos, pretty much.
Yes. So Sfiras Omer, we're gonna go into that even more. But Sfiras Omer is the ruchos that you're looking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the act of waving the barley in all 6 directions, and that is because it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu that provides that barley, and you're, by acknowledging that, then the Rav Nosson Mamish goes into it. I think he really goes into this point where he explains what the reciprocal looking from a Kodesh Baruch Hu is, what the Orach Chozer is. He says exactly why you have to bring the barley before you can eat. It has to do with why you have to wave the barley before you can eat any of the vegetation. Right? The halacha was you have to bring the carbon omer. You have to bring that before you could eat any of the new crops that grew. And I forgot offhand, but he explains in this halacha that there's a specific reason that's tied into that, why that has to be that way, which we will see. Okay. Sorry. It's exactly what we said already, that you just mentioned. We wave in all 6 directions in order to proclaim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Melech, in all 6 directions. So it came from animal food. Barley was considered animal food. They would feed it to the animals. It was a very low class type of food. So he's referring now to this idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, since he's the Malach in all 6 directions, which includes the direction that points towards us, it's impossible to understand this in any intellectual way. He says you have to believe like the same way an animal lives without any intellect. He does what he knows works. He has instincts and he does what he has to. So he says when it comes to this, it's the same thing with us. We can't understand why HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's so great, would bother to interact with people that are as low as us. That's really what it is. It's an incredible matana. So that's why it was animal food, to remind us that the emunah is intrinsically, this is what I meant by the ideas of this kelim, everything is focusing. It's all focusing on certain aspects of Hashem, looking to Hashem in a certain way. So we're looking to Hashem with emunah, through doing this, waving this carbon. We're looking to Hashem with emunah, and it's a focused looking, because the fact that it's animal food causes us to focus on that aspect of a relationship to Hashem, that our looking has to be without trying to intellectualize this process, because we can't really understand it with our intellect. So this is part of, in order for us to focus, we have to realize that. If we start trying to understand it with our intellect, then we're not able to focus on looking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the emunah. This is really a beautiful thought too. Also, it's so that it's not just enough that Hashem looks at all of us, human beings, and He gives us what we need. Afgam afilu behemoths who yisbarach gam came ba'atzman b'farnes b'ashkachosu b'ashkachosu haprotis levad. Even animals, Hakadosh Baruch Hu busies himself with. I think about this a lot when Baruch Hashem, we have in Lakewood, we have plenty of trees, so you can go make a spoil this amongst the trees. And I always try to remember when I'm davening for various things. Look at this forest, and you see how Hakadosh Baruch Hu, he takes care that everything grows so beautifully. And there's all the seasons, and everything grows, and it's a beautiful sight to see. And there's no one there cutting down the trees or watering anything or doing anything like that at all. It's a reminder to me when I'm davening to have more emunah b'tachon on Hashem. And he says also that the sphera works the same way, the omer, in that since it's animal food, it's a reminder that Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the same way this food is for animals, so Hashem sought to provide for even animals. So if he provided even for animals, certainly he provides for us as well. So, he gives the animals, he gives them their bread, he gives the ravens that call. This is part of this focused looking, that we have to realize that every part of the world, even the animals which are much lower on the totem pole than us, even them HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of, and that's very important to remember. So now, why? Ramas is asking the question. Why is it called Omer Sa'orim? Omer is a certain measurement. It's called the barley Omer. Why is it called that? Why do we call it Sfira Sa'omer? Why do we always call it Sfira Sa'omer? We don't say the Sa'orim part. We always call it just Sfira Sa'omer. Why don't we mention Sa'orim? Why don't call it Sfira Sa'omer HaSa'orim? That's what we should really call it. That's the question. Even though really all of the carbon minchas that were brought were this measurement which is called the Sirsa Eifa. Right? They're all a tenth of an Eifa. All of them were really that measurement. So really the Omer part, it's really a better question. First of all, why is it called Sfirsa Omer? What happened to the Sa'orim part? We're just busy talking about how it's animal food, it's barley. So then why don't we refer to it, if that's so important, why don't we refer to it as the barley part? That's the first question, question A. Question B is that the measurement, if we're calling it by a measurement, which is the Omer is a measurement, well, every single carbon mincha was that same measurement. So why does this one refer to specifically by the measurement? There's no chiddush in that, so we shouldn't bother calling it that way. We call this mainly by its name Omer. We already explained, based on what we've said now, the main idea is to draw Amunah into every aspect of our lives and into the entire world. So now, since we have Amunah, so through this Amunah and through our B'tochen, that makes the Keli, it makes the vessel that we need in order to receive the Shefa of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Valkein, Nikras B'Shem Omer, Loshan Mida, so it's called a Omer. Omer is a measurement. The Iker Hu Amida, the main thing is the measurement. The Hainu Akli, what is a measurement? A measurement is a Kli. A Kli is able to, it measures something. A Kli, it defines something. It gives it boundaries and borders. The Hainu Sheniska Lahamshich Achis Hashem Amida B'Gvul Zaman Shloitia B'Chinas Ribayar. That in order for us to draw down the Shefa, Kadosh Baruch Hu make sure that we do it in a way so it shouldn't be riboy or, it shouldn't be too much or. You can, if you don't have a proper vessel, so when you receive the light, it overflows and it causes the vessel to crack, and then you can't contain the light anymore. For example, I don't know if I said this already, but I always like to use the famous thing that when people win the lottery, since they didn't really work for the money most of the time, and they usually don't come from, but they don't necessarily come from very wealthy families. So there's this incredible amount of shefa that descends on them. They get this incredible, they get the phone call, they won $10 million, and there's this incredible amount of shefa that they receive. Now, if they would have worked for it, so then they appreciate the money and how hard it is to earn it and so on and so forth, they're careful with it. Because they didn't work, they don't really have any kalim. There's nothing really defined. This money doesn't really have any real, there's no way to define that shefa. It doesn't really have any real meaning to them. And usually, statistically, most of those people, they blow the money and they actually end up, I believe, in more debt than they started with, which is mind-boggling. It's hard to understand that, but it's not, because shefa is great. It's great to get brachas, it's great to get shefa, but if you don't have the kalim, it's actually counter productive and can be very destructive. And therefore, Kosh Baruch Hu, right, he, as we said, he bothers to busy himself with us. It's so important to him. So whatever he does is with incredible kindness and compassion. He wants to always give us the very best. But the only way that can be done is if we first have a keli. When we have a keli, we have the proper focus and we understand the purpose of things. So then they're bound to be received and properly enjoyed and taken advantage of. When we don't have that, oftentimes he won't give us the bracha or the shefa because he knows it'll be destructive to us. So the idea of requiring us to have emunah b'tochen is that we look and we realize that this was given to us from Hashem for a purpose, and then we use that thing for its proper purpose, and ultimately we benefit from it on many different levels. Okay, so that's the idea of Riboy Or. Shezeh zoichen ha'idei anafas oimer sa'orim shadizeh mamshich emunah ashkocha shi b'chins riyah sha'idei zeh nimshach hashem b'chins keilu mida b'ful zban shu ikr. So we call now, back to the question, we call it the Omer, which is a measurement, because the idea over here is that the whole waving of everything in all the various directions is the idea of emunah and ashkocha of Hashem, and that is the first keli. That's the main keli we need in order to draw down the bracha from Hashem. We need the emunah and the b'tochen that everything is, the source of everything is from a Kosh Baruch Hu. When we have that, it's like when we have that introduction, then we can start to receive bracha in our lives, because there's purpose to whatever he gives us. When we don't have that introduction, then a Kosh Baruch Hu doesn't give it to us, because it would be it would be very, very damaging. There's actually a lot to say on this topic, but I think let's actually just finish the next little bit. There's one more paragraph just to sum it up, and I think we'll talk more about this as well. Okay. It's the same idea of why we count 7 weeks, because Zman is also, it's also something that constricts. Time is a constriction, also gives boundaries and borders, right? And we mentioned this in the Torah also, the idea of that's what Kelim is, and we said Zman specifically. He calls as long as there wasn't any measurements, there's no time. Everything is just limitless. You have to have both. You can't have just Kalim without Shefa, right? If you have just restrictions and you have just vessels, but you don't fill them with anything, so then life becomes very, very burdensome and overwhelming. On the other hand, you can have just light without the Kalim to hold them, because then it just spills out and you can't really appreciate that light either. So you have to have both of these things. Then so Valkain Sphere so Omer he b'achana l'kabal sator b'shvuas ki ikabal sator toli b'zeh adei sh'aminim b'ashkoch also yisbarach sh'aminim she'af al pi she'Hashem yisbarach hu l'malu m'amidus v'kei l'malu m'azman af al pi kein hu yisbarach b'asman shkiach m'chayim m'ashpia l'toich kol ha'kashamim m'kayim es azman m'ashkochosoi levan Valkain sheva shabbos is getting sheva gildei eino shem b'chins riyav ashkocho. Basically, this idea that therefore Sphira is a preparation for receiving the Torah, because we said the purpose of the Torah is to have emunah and a Kosh Baruch Hu that he does, even though he's above everything, he's above all of time, he's infinite and he's unlimited, but he interacts with us in a way of Zman, and when we realize that, then we can start building a relationship with him through the mitzvahs. So we need to first understand this idea that we need to have kalim, we need to have the proper measurements of things, we need to have certain limitations and certain boundaries. that's the idea. We get ready for that so that when we get to Torah, we can properly utilize the Torah, which is that same idea, really. And I'll try to, let's just try to give an example on the top of my head to try to crystallize this concept. I'll try to give one with sphere itself, which is something I heard once, an idea that we say every single day the sphera, right? Like it could be chesed shebechesed, vur shebechesed. Every single day we say the sphera, and there's a lot of svarim that were written to explain those, how you reach those various levels. So one way would be to learn those svarim and try working on those. But I saw a vart that, based on something Reb Nachman said, that somebody told me once that I thought is very appropriate, which is that everything that happens during each sphere day it really is contained in that midah of the day. So if it's chesed shebechesed, it means that Kadosh Baruch Hu deals with us in a way of chesed shebechesed today, if today's day is chesed shebechesed. So now, by me having a emunah b'tochen in that day, and trying to relate whatever goes on to Kadosh Baruch Hu, automatically I'm going to incorporate that midah into my life. So let's say it's a day of gevura. There's a lot of gevura, there's a lot of dinim, there's a lot of harshness. Okay? So now if I accept that harshness and I utilize it, I don't let it push me down, I don't let it make me think that Hashem is far from me, I just accept it and I do whatever I can on that day, so then I'm able to also gain from that harshness automatically, without me even knowing anything about that day. It's just Hashem in His hashgacha, He leads my life in that way. So I think that that's the same idea over here, which is that we have to understand that a life of aura would be that whatever happens is just bliss, and it's great and everything like that. The idea of the Torah, of living a life of Torah mitzvahs, is to understand that we have a teacher, that's Kadosh Baruch Hu, and everything that happens is hashgacha from Him. It's all directly supervised by Him, and He wants to make us more like Him, to make us more godly, so that we can have the ultimate relationship with Him. And we have to go through various difficulties and challenges in order to reach that. All of those are kelim. That's if we just want this bliss, so then we don't accept those kelim, and we have ribei or. We're just looking for the bliss. We're looking for the light. We're looking for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's bracha and the shefa. So we just have ribei or. We want that bliss, and we have no kelim, and we end up really with pretty much nothing. But if we accept that we need kelim in order to get that and to appreciate the bliss, so then we're able to accept and appreciate and have patience for every single thing that happens in our life and every single challenge, and we realize that those are giving us the tools necessary to be able to look to Kadosh Baruch Hu and receive that bracha. And we have to, by waving the sphera in every direction, by counting every single day, it's really, we're going to school, we're being taught every single day how to remember this concept, so that we have incredibly strong kelim, that no matter what happens in life, we look at it as an opportunity to come close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. We look at it as hashgacha pratis, we look at it as building our muscles, so to speak, so that we can afterwards receive the shefa, and that's the hachana to Matan Torah, the Torah, which is the ultimate idea of the kelim, the mitzvahs we already explained, or the kelim. So we start building this up, so then when we receive the Torah, we could properly appreciate the mitzvahs and how we have to look the Kadosh Baruch Hu through the mitzvahs, and we can't just have this life where everything is just pure or. That's what
I see. So Rabbi Yossi, so this also goes back to when we first started discussing the concept of working, and basically you're bitachon for, let's say, something like a parnasa, right, having to come through the actual working, and then through working, then through the actual working that you do, you see the shefa come from Hashem, but the keli is really doing your work with you're basically creating the kelim, I guess, with the work that you're doing, but looking at the work that you're doing as the conduit for Hashem's bracha and parnasa, something along those lines.
Well, going back to
that with the question we discussed about, we threw out the idea about working and about finding bitachon through working, which is, again, which seemed a little bit at odds, because when you're working, you could also see it as coming from Asya Adenu, and then we had that whole discussion, right? So this seems like it somehow relates back to that when you're creating the kalim, working, but with the bitachon, and through the bitachon, you're creating the kalim for the shefer bracha. Maybe.
The working, what it does is it allows us to focus on Hashem. It's very hard for us,
Right.
by not doing anything as human beings. We have a very hard time focusing on Hashem and believing that He's going to just provide for us. There are tzaddikim that reach that level, but for a normal person, that's very, very difficult. So by working, the work helps us focus on Hashem, which helps us build our bitachon. But the shefa, actually, the bitachon is really the kalim over there in that example. It's just the working helps us build the bitachon, because it like if before I go into this super big business deal, I'm like, wow, this is like so above me. I'm so scared. I've never done a deal like this before. And when you start to realize that this is really up to Hashem, is Hashem going to make it happen, and it causes you it causes you and helps you focus on Hashem. If you would have sat in your house and not done anything that day, right, you may not have thought of Hashem, because you may have been too overwhelmed, and you may just be worried and have doubts and so on and so forth. As far as the mitzvahs, go, we don't, because the mitzvahs are very deep, we don't see this unless we learn about them. But each mitzvah, like bitachon, is a way of building kalim for parnasa specifically, in that case. But the tefillin, for example, would be a way of looking to Hashem for a different type of shafa, which is das, happens to be with tefillin. And even though we, on a simple level, we don't realize this because we're just saying the bracha and doing the mitzvah, or just doing the mitzvah, but really there's deep kavanas which define why the mitzvah is the way it is, and it's really looking to Hashem in a very specific way. That's really what it is. Each mitzvah, there's 613, so each one is looking to Hashem in a very specific way. So tzedakah is looking to Hashem in a way of giving and being charitable, and the shefa that would come back would be related to looking to Hashem that way. And so would all the other mitzvahs. It's all about focusing on our relationship with Hashem, different ways of focusing on our relationship with Hashem. Each mitzvah helps us focus on a different aspect, and it does that through giving us the kalim. Like, imagine a keli is a lens. There's this type of lens, there's that type of lens. Each lens that you look through, what you see is a little bit different, right? Depending, a magnifying glass is different than a telescope, So each 600, you could really compare them to different types of lenses, and they're looking to Hashem in very specific ways. And when you look to Him that way, He treats us like a mirror, in the form of a mirror. That's the Orach Choizer. It's like a mirror, so that He'll interact back with us in the same way we look to Him. This happens automatically when we do mitzvahs, even though we don't understand the kavanas. It's not like you have to feel that you don't get this because you didn't know the kavanas of their reason on a mitzvah. It happens automatically. Of course, if one is able to learn more, then when they do the mitzvahs, they do the mitzvah with more kavanah, so they looked with more focus, and therefore they'll get back a more focused response from HaKadosh Baruch Hu also.
Okay. Also, just actually, Rabbi Yossi, do you have to go now?
We could do a quick thing.
Just a quick question about, just really, this is just at the word of HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos. Can you maybe tell us where we could find that word from Rav Nosson the next time we learn together?
I have a search program. I could search it. I don't remember. I saw it once from Rav Nosson. It's a beautiful word. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Okay, and just a philosophical question again. We can discuss some of the time, which is when Rav Nosson kofar gomer to anybody, with regard to anybody who denies that the hashgacha extends to each individual and to every being, and to there are Rishonim that hold otherwise, right? That there's that their idea of chaklalos and pratis is very different than Rav Nosson. So when he labels kofar gomer, Is that like is he doing that on purpose, like having in mind these other Rishonim and just being like um, uh, uh, he like what's Kofar Gomer? Like it's very harsh lashon, and especially
Very harsh lashon. Once the Baal Shem Tov, the belief amongst all Chassidim is that once the Baal Shem Tov, he was kind of like the Poisek Acharon. Once he revealed that this is the way, that perhaps there was a time when there was certain doubt about it, but once the Baal Shem Tov revealed that that is the true way HaKadosh Baruch Hu deals with the world, so anyone that believes in the Derech of the Baal Shem Tov would believe that there's no more room to doubt that approach. So coming from that perspective, where you realize that that is the reality of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it would be kfir to believe otherwise.
Okay.
That's really, it's coming from that perspective that now that if you believe in the Baal Shem Tov, you believe that he understood how HaKadosh Baruch Hu interacted with the world. So to take that away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu would now be to deny the essence of Hashem.
I see, but it's particularly harsh lashon.
Yeah, the Emunah amongst the Breslovers, amongst Chassidim in general, is like, I mean, if you took that away from them, to them that would be the end of Yiddishkeit. That's really what the whole Yiddishkeit is based on.
No, not that you should take it away, but just the lashon again, other I guess Rishonim and calling labeling it Kofar Gomer was just interesting to see. I was wondering what was behind that.
It developed. It would develop after the Baal Shem Tov, meaning to say,
right.
You could say before then there was a certain amount of doubt, but the feeling is that after the Baal Shem Tov revealed that this is the way it was, that was, like there's certain times where there might have been different people that have different minhagim, but then when there was a Poisek Acharon that passed in a certain way, and the vast majority of Klal Yisrael would act according to that psak. So for someone to at that point go and do differently would be considered a very, even though maybe at an earlier time it would have been okay, that would be considered very wrong. So it's the same thing over here with this idea of Emunah.
Okay.
Like you can't definitely Chassidim don't believe that you can go find a Rishon that argues and live your life based on what he says at this point. We don't believe that.
Right. Yeah, no, it was a question about the lashon that he used, and if there was something a little bit more than meets the eye. But thank you.
I think this is just it's the strong. It's really one of the strongest beliefs that Reb Noson's constant. Kol mitzvah secha emunah. That's a pasuk he's bringing, and he's saying the whole Torah is based on the emunah. And emunah means this. And if you say Shema and you didn't think that it extends down to you, the Ashkacha, then you weren't Yoitzi Shema properly. That's what he's saying based on the Arizal, according to Reb Noson. He wants to source it to the Arizal. So it's a very strong belief. It's definitely a very strong belief.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Galto.
Next week.
Bye-bye.